All right, what's going on, everyone? So, like the title says, in this one, I'm going to be giving you my conscious perspective of modern consciousness. And I'm going to be doing that by giving you my reactions to a couple of predetermined videos that I feel like will open up discussions so that we can really fly high on these subjects as well as get them out of the way. Now, forgive me because this is live. If my dialect is off at certain times, you know how it goes. This is live. So, the first thing I want to touch base on is something that's just been recently brought to my attention. And this is kind of like how we're going to get it started. This Aletha and Donna reggae song from Uptown Top Ranking, these women that made this classic song are being portrayed on the album cover as having beards. I don't know if you can see that. Let me show you. Hold on. This right here is the goatee, and it looks very strong. And this right here is the really, really like edged in side beard. Now, I just wanted to get that out there right now so you can kind of know how we're going with this. If you want to know where to find these videos, like for example, if you're watching this relative to the time that it's uploaded, you can check out my today playlist, which is at the end of this video, and you'll be able to find these videos in that. It's a constant playlist that I update, that I basically curate every day. But the first thing we're going to go over with modern consciousness is we're going to be addressing the Black woman. And I hate to say that. And I really realize at this point, I really need to preference this in a lot of different ways because I really feel like over the years, we've seen this done in a way that seems to be like comical. Like, and we've seen this done in a way that seems to be satire. We've seen this done in a way that seems to be like demeaning, as if like we're supposed to be some sort of parent bringing correction, like being upset, calling people, dealing with people like children. We've seen it done from a sympathetic, compassionate perspective, like the way that that these type of women portray themselves, oftentimes, as well as the way a lot of these sensitive men portray them. The way that they're basically portrayed in the media, for the most part, is done from a compassionate standpoint. We've even seen it done from the perspective of the name of this guy kind of eludes me right now, but the YouTuber that died, he was pretty much like the modern sort of gosh, why is his name eluding me right now? Kevin Samuels' perspective. We've even seen it from like the worldly Kevin Samuels' perspective. However, still relatively level Kevin Samuels' perspective. But I don't think we've actually seen this done from a conscious perspective. Someone that knows aspects of spirituality, history, personal identity, but not even just that. I don't think we've actually seen this done from the perspective of someone that's not a simp or just trying to like generate entertainment. From someone that's more like cold and like meditated, considered, and calculated, as well as someone that's relative. And so when addressing consciousness, I feel like now that I think about it, the best place for us to start is like Mother Earth herself, right? So I want to just preference it like that. Now, I'm also addressing this piece for another reason too, because this piece also speaks to revolt. And revolt speaks to BET. Unfortunately. So similar to like our last piece, we're going to be doing a lot of things. We're going to be doing a lot of birds with one stone. All right. So let's just go ahead and let's get into this.
4 years. What are we going to? What is Harris promising black people in 4 years?
That was a valid question. That was a valid question. I understand what you're
don't ever do that with me, though. Don't ever do that with me. You'll get your friend embarrassed. Play with your little friends.
I would never be embarrassed.
Out of order, especially for a woman that's a half century old, older than anybody else on stage. With the job of maintaining a level of decorum on the panel, she did nothing but the opposite. That was to embarrass and shame anybody she didn't agree with.
As a former foster child, had I aged out, I would have only left the orphanage with a garbage bag full of clothes, and they would have given me a $700 check a month and told me good luck. So I think that it's disgusting, a spit in the face to kids like me who didn't ask to be born into the situations that we were born into, that we would never be able to qualify for the resources that are literally being given to somebody else.
Okay,
Sean is what's driving the vote.
Michaela, I would like to ask you a question.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Foster care in which state?
California. The same California that is giving $150,000
Can I ask you this?
illegal migrants, but if my
0%
sister who just aged out of foster care
But they want to give you
Hold on, wait a minute.
do just
Then
that.
there's no point talking about that destitute situation.
It
Let's
is
move on.
because right now people are
Let's
losing
move on.
allocated resources.
Let's let
and we
it-
have people who
No,
need those
the
resources.
conservatives say
We're
don't
talking
need
about the
resources.
fact that we're not prioritizing
Let's
American
make that
citizens.
No, but that.
Is giving $150,000
Can I ask you this?
illegal migrants, but if my
0%
sister who just aged out of foster care
But they want to give you
Hold on, wait a minute.
do just
Then
that.
there's no point talking about that destitute situation.
It is
Let's move on.
because right now illegal migrants, but if my
0%
sister who just aged out of foster care
But they want to give you
Hold on, wait a minute.
do just
Then
that.
there's no point talking about that destitute situation.
It is
Let's move on.
Because right now people are
Let's
looking
move
out
on.
for resources.
Let's let
We
it
have
go.
people who
No.
need.
I want to take some time just to give you a little bit of feedback right now because it did kind of start off a little congested. I just want to give you my takeaway from this at this very moment. This person has a space on Revolt. And they have their own production on Revolt. So at some point, Revolt feels like this person reflects how they believe their perspective and identity is. Like this is what their business represents right here. And you know what? We're just gonna call it like BET. This is like their version. This is how they view BET right here.
We're talking about the fact that we're not prioritizing American citizens.
No, but
We're not prioritizing
You heard
American
me say at the
citizens.
beginning of what I said, that I'm a nigga should go to American citizens first. I said that, ma'am.
Okay,
I just
so
asked you
I'm
what
pointing out the fact that when we're talking about immigration, we understand that
But that's what I
Republicans will
asked
not give out these resources.
That's all I wanted you
My
to
point
say.
is Democrats are only
That's all
supposed to
I
let
asked you.
resources go to a certain group, and black people need to pay
Ma'am.
attention to the fact that y'all won't get those
Ma'am,
resources.
ma'am,
That's the point. Y'all move on.
ma'am,
I'm right.
we said it's not that right or wrong.
It is right.
No, it's not.
It is
I just
right.
want to know.
Black people won't get those resources, and therefore you should not vote for a Democrat who will
Ma'am.
allow foster children,
Ma'am.
veterans who lost limbs fighting for the
Ma'am.
country, veterans like you, and this man here, not get
We
those
agree.
All right,
We agree. Very relaxed.
So if Democrats are
agree.
giving them
Now,
out,
you don't relax.
then why are the Democrats giving them
I'm
to
not
black
talking
people?
about no Democrats. I'm asking
Why
you
are
because
they
you're
giving them to black
There's
people?
something wrong with them.
No,
There's something wrong with them.
See, this clown tried to disrespect and clown the other woman the whole time while creating this love and hip hop circus with her nasty, condescending attitude. I'm talking about an agent of chaos. She would get everybody hyped up and then say, relax, relax, relax. She'll deflect by
All right, you know what? I can't really watch this one. Gosh, this is the problem with doing this live. See, with doing this live, I get caught up with a lot of stuff that I can't edit out. And see, that's not what I wanted to, because the problem, this is the thing about this channel, and I'm gonna address this thing. The Pink Book Lessons channel, like a lot of like the satire channels and stuff like that, is when they get to a point where they start generating views behind it, and I'm guessing they start really like making money on it, they start getting to a point where they get into like a real momentous rhythm of satire, which sometimes like a lot of the videos, they just seem to be going a little bit kind of like hard in the, like they seem to be in the habit of going hard for the sake of like clicks. It seems like everything that these people post is always about bad stuff all the time. So it kind of makes you wonder like what their interest is, also like what their focus and perspective is. It's like if all this stuff is so bad, then like how do you perceive, like what do you perceive as good, and why don't you actually share that or like reflect on that? You know, like are you like this like annihilator all the time? But anyways, what I want to do is I want to address this video because I've actually watched this one already. Because I really feel like this video actually brings up more talking points about consciousness and not so much talking points about like what's going on in modern politics and stuff like that, because that stuff right now is a complete distraction, and I don't want this reaction video to be listening to these people go back and forth about this stuff in general. The reality of the situation is that the situation was ignorant, therefore nothing intelligent is coming out of it, period. So I don't want to expose us to that. This isn't a reaction about Revolt. This is a reaction about specifically about that Revolt interview. This is a reaction about consciousness. All right, so let's just watch the correct video and not listen to this foolishness, because I'm sitting there listening to them go back and forth and it's upsetting me because I just feel like as if I'm caught up in the ignorance myself. All right. So like I said, this video is not about satire and all that other stuff. We're not doing intelligence. This is like we're not doing entertainment. All right. This is like an analytical piece. And the reason why I'm making this piece, and I need to alliterate this because this is live, is because we're going to have to build on top of this. We're going to have to get past this stuff so that we can start talking about things that are really worthwhile, so that we're not just sitting up here being another person making the next video about King Von, or so that we're not the next person up here making the next video about Trump, or so we're not the next person up here making the next video about this, like, you know, what this woman did today or what this man did today. Like I said, this is not a teardown piece. And that video right there, it was at such a high frequency of back and forth and all that, I would never be able to focus on it. So we got to switch it up, all right? And anyways, here we go.
Can we keep it real? Can I ask you a real question?
Sure.
Are y'all feeling the way that she's with a white man? Are we gonna be honest?
No,
I just want to know.
I didn't have a chance. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Like, can we just pause for a minute and just take a note at the difference of the way these two videos started? Oh my goodness. This is the first thing I want to address. It is 2024. And we're here on Revolt. And we're opening up with biracial analysis.
Can we keep it real? Can I ask you a real question?
Sure.
Are y'all feeling the way that she's with a white man? Are we gonna be honest?
No,
I just want to know.
I didn't have a chance. I mean, you know.
Yeah. But is that an issue? Like, I want to really.
That's a great question. You know what? Here's what it boils down to.
So let me just put this out there. Let me just wait a minute. I'm feeling some resentment in the building. Let me just put.
Wait a minute, I'm feeling some resentment in the building. Okay, so basically she's asking if it's a problem. And then what she's doing is she's taking vibes from the room and saying that she feels like there's some hatred in the room.
I just want to put the conversation out there. And we're going to do more of these shows because I want to bring it back and have a conversation on relationship and all of that.
She want to host conversations about relationships. Ma'am, you don't even have a successful relationship to be lecturing Black people on relationships. You have the same feminist let me emasculate Black men rhetoric that's been destroying Black relationships.
But I just want to put it out. Black women, we feel away. I'm just going to keep it real. Black women going to keep it real. We feel away when we see, like if Obama had a white wife, we would feel away. Raise the hand. We feel just like a little bit of a way. We're going to be honest about it. Let's be real about it. What sister's going to be real about it? I'll be real about it.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I was just so frustrated, like reflecting back on the way that this video kind of started, listening to them go back and forth over stuff. Oh my goodness, over this politics stuff. It just made me so sick. Anyways, this is where I really wanted to start. It's 2024, and we're having this conversation about interracial couples and somebody disliking it. So basically, it's already about hatred. And we're already just going to sit here and talk about how we dislike seeing other people in biracial relationships. You start off showing the person that's supposed to be running for president, that you're supposed to be aligned with a man of another race, and you say, "Does this make you upset?" Nobody even really responds, right? And then afterwards, you show all these other Black men in biracial relationships, and then you try to take a tally of the room to see who's upset, and nobody responds. Now, I want to break down this this aspect of interracial relationships, and I want to talk about it because I want to put this aspect of this to rest, and I also want to use it into the analysis to kind of like really show where we're at with this. As a Black man, all right, if I see a Black woman dating a white man, I personally don't have any sort of animosity or hatred for it at all. One, because I don't understand it. I don't know who these. First of all, why would I hate them? I have no reason to hate them. I have no vested interest, and I have no loss, or I have no gain. Now, if I look at it from like a conscious perspective of like slavery, and I look at it from like the perspective of like, being like dominated and like defeated as a man, I'm especially not jealous in that case, because I look at it as like this: if in fact that woman really, sees that man as being like the dominant force, what do I have to gain by having that woman in my sort of engagement? Like, what do I have to gain if that's truly what this person finds attractive? I can't make any sort of like real future plans. I can't build any sort of real goals because they're never going to understand things from my perspective. They're never going to, the only way I can lust for that from a practical male standpoint is if I want to be the more subordinate member. You know what I mean? If I also view the world from the same perspective of white men being the alpha of that world. All right. So I would have to have the same perspective. I would have to have the same colorist perspective. And as a man being the closest thing to God, you recognize that the only thing you fear is God. So you respect yourself. All right. You respect yourself. You love yourself. You aspire for yourself to be at the highest platform, and you recognize that relationship to be, it could be a multitude of things, and you honestly don't know what they go through. So how can you sit there and then project hatred onto that relationship? Now, from the alternate perspective, from the perspective of a woman, if you see a Black man with a white woman, why would that encourage hatred within you? Now, though, some things I hear about is like I feel betrayed, but the thing about it is, in order to be betrayed, you would have had to at some point been in line. You would have had to have at some point been loyal. And these men that you are upset about, what relationship do you have with them? You don't have any relationship with them. You know, you don't have any relationship with them. And to be honest, you don't care to have any relationship with them. Because if you cared to have a relationship with them, you would aim for a relationship with them, despite the fact that they were in relationships. You know what? You know how guys do that? Like, I'm gonna tell you how guys do that. Guys know exactly how it goes. All of a sudden, the dude comes around. Is he treating you all? Is he treating you well? Well, if he's not treating you well or he's not treating you right, just give me a call. They'll do that. If he's not treating you well, if he's not treating you right, here's my number. Just give me a call. This is what guys do when they feel like a situation, you know, I guess they feel like the dude's not doing what he's supposed to do. This is what guys do. That's how they intervene when they're feeling this type of way. But is she willing to do that for these men? She's not. And so the reality of the situation is, it's 2024. It's 2024. And we have a person here on Revolt as a representative of the direction of Revolt that clearly has an immature mind. All right, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, but she clearly has an immature mind. Because she's still over here talking about hatred towards Black men in biracial relationships, as if it's ever done anything for all people, out of all people, for her, who's over here on the basically the unofficial new BET.
About it.
If Obama's wife was Mackenzie from Iowa or Maria from Miami, there's no way he would have won support of Black people overall. Black women would have been so turned off if he had an interracial relationship, they would have turned everybody else away from him too. Everybody knows Michelle from Chicago is what solidified his Black American support.
Now, I want to speak on the idea of not necessarily hating the biracial relationship, but being turned off by the biracial relationship. Because see, that's something different. What does it mean? Well, honestly, I'll tell you that what it means is, from a matter of perspective, it has different meaning. But ultimately, what it means is, from a woman's perspective, see, this is something that I kind of just do not really want to talk about. But this is another thing that adds to the reason why, as a man, you don't dislike when you see biracial relationships. Because, see, a man's role in a relationship is to protect the family. A woman's role in the relationship is to serve the man. The only way that the roles are reversed is when the woman is the leader of the relationship. So in that case, the woman protects the family and the man, caters to the woman. The only thing about this is, number one, that's never the case. And number two, the ideologies of the family are determined by the person that protects the family, the person that leads the family. So if, in order for a man to accept a woman, the woman has to look at him as being the ultimate man. So when that's really kind of like a roundabout way of really kind of like breaking down a woman has to actually like a man. So if she sees a white man as the ultimate man, then how can you be mad when you see it? Like maybe you could be uptight, but the only way you would be uptight is if that's what you saw yourself. You would have to also believe that. I feel like I'm kind of like dragging on this because I don't know. I guess maybe I feel like my momentum's not really there right now. But we'll just keep going and just get this over with because I just want to get this out of the way so I can just move on and talk about bigger and better things. I don't even really want to address this.
Real about it. They don't want to tell y'all. They would feel away. So I just want to know. So we're looking at all of the black congressmen with their white wives, but I want to just keep it all the way above. I just want to keep it. And all Republicans, by the way. I just want to keep it all. Just above. I mean, I just want to say that is because I talk to black men all the time. You know, we went to Chicago to barbershops. I engage a lot with black men, and I just want to, since we're here with all black folks, let's just be honest. There's some men. This ain't watching that white woman we feel away. Not so much if somebody, you know. So I just want to be honest about it. Is that a part of it? Is it because I've heard black men say it. I've seen black men say it. If she has that white husband, I got a problem with that because who she sleeps with, like Dr. Umar Johnson has said and many others said, makes a difference in how they feel in her support for black men. Are we going to be honest about it or are we going to play about it? It's a true statement.
It's a very true statement. And I mean, she's not.
You know, I just realized that my last point did kind of slip me. And that was just kind of like the point of like, should you be turned off by someone oh, yeah. The difference is though, the future of the black community depends on black men, not black women. And the future of the black community doesn't just particularly depend on black men, but it depends on black men and black women. So once a woman decides that she's going to marry a white man, she's decided that she's leaving the black community. However, when a black man has a white wife, their family is in the black community. So whenever you see a black woman and a and a white man, in terms of being turned off, that is more distasteful than seeing a black man with a white woman. And I think it's kind of just important to sort of layer that out there because the lady's point is, you know, she's like, oh, these are also Republicans, by the way. But the reality of the matter is, what we're really talking about is we're talking about the person that you're supposed to be supporting, which is supposed to be Kamala, and she actually has a biracial relationship. So in this situation, you're really like standing on both ends of the candlestick, you know, generating hatred towards interracial relationships. And in reality, women take a huge portion of the blame. in this situation. And it's important that you understand this breakdown of this right this point, because it's really going to give you a breakdown of the woman. And it's also going to give you a reflection of revolt. All right. And forgive me if Pink Book is in the background doing whatever she's doing. I think she did a good edit of this, but I'm kind of coming to like, you know, but anyways, that's basically what my point is. And that's the reason why I had to really like run through that with you real quick.
Gonna do too much that's gonna make Thanksgiving dinner uncomfortable. She doesn't go by her married name because she doesn't want y'all to remember that she's married to a white man. She's never birthed any black children. So while she's acting like she's about to be the mother of America, you've never had children yourself. And then you go around, you know, parading for that.
You have children?
Yeah.
You do have children. So you got a problem with women that don't have children?
I don't have a problem with women who don't have children. I have a problem with people making it seem like children are going to be are the end of everything. I don't like people discouraging women from having children.
When she done? I'm just curious. When did she discourage?
Well, whenever she comes to the AUC, the main topic of discussion is
okay.
as if, and I mean, unfortunately, she fits the narrative. Unfortunately, reproductive rights in terms of they don't talk about allocating any money to fibroid research or endometriosis research or PCOS research. All things that disproportionately affect black women.
Now hold on. Wait a minute. Let's just now. I get reproductive. I will.
She's a black woman.
Let's be clear. Reproductive health. But let's hold on. Wait a minute. I agree with you on that because they do need to talk more about. We were talking about it in the dressing room about fibroids and because I do want to say that white women are the ones pushing the narrative for the board. Get that clear. Let's stop acting like this is a black woman issue. No, let's get this clear.
Every election, it's a black woman will die unless a
right. But I'm talking about the reality. The reality is when you look at the women who are advocating for, because we're gonna say I'm a mother too. So you're talking to a fellow mom. So we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna stop putting this stigma on black women. I'm not talking about Harris. I'm talking about me and you, mother to mother. It's really important. I want to lay this out, and then we'll get to you, brother. But let's stop putting this black women talking about.
Stop it. Kamala's been running around disguising terminations as reproductive rights. She's the one who launched a nationwide campaign. Remember the BET Awards 2022? The show they repeated over and over, telling black women to save terminations. It was all led by Taraji P. Henson, right on the stage. Kamala was using the same talking points, going from city to city, encouraging terminations.
So in the beginning of this video, I kind of like spoke on like how I was going to address the black woman. And this is what I mean by address the black woman. This is what I mean by address the black woman. And I'm not even talking about them. This is what I mean by address the black woman. I want to really talk about like why these women are not black. However, how they're referred to as black women. What makes them black women? Because this is again this is another contradiction between what this lady on Revolt is talking about, how she's trying to come in defense of Kamala, talking about, wait, this is not a black woman issue, and this is this, and this is that, and it actually being displayed here by women who look black but aren't black. This is another one of those sort of situations where it's 2024. It's 2024. It's 2024, and this is who Revolt has. This 2024, and this is who Revolt has right now.
We're gonna say I'm a mother too. So you're talking to a fellow mama. So we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna stop putting this stigma on black women. I'm not talking about Harris. I'm talking about me and you, mother to mother. It's really important. I want to lay this out, and then we'll get to you, brother. But let's stop putting this black women talking about.
Stop it. Kamala's been running around disguising terminations as reproductive rights. She's the one who launched a nationwide campaign. Remember the BET Awards 2022? The show they repeated over and over, telling black women to save terminations. It was all led by Taraji P. Henson, right on stage. Kamala was using the same talking points, going from city to city, encouraging terminations, going to Black colleges, speaking to young Black women about termination rights.
What I want to ask you right now is, do these people look Black to you? And if so, what is it about them that makes them look Black? Is it the fact that Kamala has this smile? You know, the way that her legs are crossed? Is it the fact that this woman has this starch look on her face? These real sharp red lips and this pressed wave hair with the plaid? Does the plaid make them Black? Is it the fact that she's wearing all black? Is this something that makes this person Black?
So if anybody created the support for terminations out in the open and in media amongst a modern Black woman, you have to give credit to Taraji P. Henson and everybody talking about that mess at the BET Awards show. Then they followed it up on the shade.
Is this person Black?
The whole Black Hollywood from Kerry Washington to Sanaa Lathan.
This is what we know based on facts. So I just want to be clear. I understand the issue, and I tell Democrats all the time.
But I want to be clear. I wasn't saying that.
I know, but I just want to be clear because I don't want that stigma out there just running with the trolls and the commies. I want to be clear that Black women are not the ones. That's why you don't see us in the cat hats and all that talking about.
They're promoting this too.
Yeah, but no, and that's where I'm disagreeing with you because the thousands of women that are out protesting for our white women. And that's about.
Now, see, here's another thing that we got to also understand, too. If what she's saying is wrong, then that means that she doesn't know what she's talking about. And if she doesn't know what she's talking about, is she Black?
Black women that we
right, but we ain't after those, sis. So let's be clear.
They're telling us that.
Who gives a damn what they telling us? We want to be clear.
So how did this become to these?
Yeah, but that's not who the goalpost. The bottom line is Black women are not advocating for. But I agree, and I challenge that, baby. Listen, Black women been doing one. The white women don't tell us what to do. We tell white women.
Once again, now here we are. We're like really digging deep in the weeds with this. We started off talking about interracial relationships, you know. Then we went from interracial relationships talking about Black women not being a part of abortion. All of this stuff is wrong. Now we get into a part where we're getting into the part where now we're barking. And the reality of she doesn't know nothing.
Okay. So let's be clear. I don't know what kind of Black women you are, but we the type Black women. I want to be clear. It's important that we be clear about that. Those women hold position.
Now what we do is recertify. I don't know what type of Black woman you are.
And listen, well, maybe they control you. They don't control the sisters. But listen, I'm telling you that I agree. Like a white man.
Maybe they control you. They don't control the sisters.
Are you hearing what I'm telling you, or you ain't listening? I'm listening. I agree that Democrats. I just feel like you're trying to make my point something. I'm not trying to make it. I just want you to listen.
This whole conversation was chaotic, unprofessional.
Now I want to go through that altercation one more time because I feel like I want to kind of like give you like a lot more perspective. So let's just go through it real quick.
And I challenge that, baby. Listen, black women do it. The white women don't tell us what to do. We tell white women to do.
Okay.
So let's be clear. I don't know what kind of black women you are, but we the type. But I want to be clear. It's important that we be clear about that. Those
white women hold positions
and
of
listen,
power that we don't.
well, maybe they control you. They don't control the sisters. But listen, but I'm telling you that I agree.
Like
are you hearing what I'm telling you, or you ain't listening?
I'm listening.
I agree that
I
Democrats.
just feel like you're trying to make my point so that
I'm not trying to make it. I just want you to listen.
This whole
Now, did you see that interaction? In that interaction, who was telling the truth and who was lying? She was telling the truth the whole time. She was the one that was making up stuff and straight up lying. Now, you know what? We're not even gonna be accusatory and call it lying. We're just gonna say she was the one being argumentative, rude, and not knowing what she's talking about who's black, you not black. They don't get the real sisters. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just cut it short and just tell you that the person that's actually black in this situation is her. The person that's BET in this situation is her. And the reality of the matter is, it's a difference of consciousness, which is clear. And the consciousness is reality. However, beyond that, the difference is a matter of ignorance.
conversation was chaotic, unprofessional, unhinged, and absolutely disgusting. Why? Because of this woman right here. She was gaslighting the whole time. She would ask a question and wouldn't allow guests to speak to answer the question. She would overtalk people she didn't agree with. I'm telling you, she wouldn't shut up. She had to keep going and going, arguing to get the last word in like she was fighting with her baby daddy. The most combative, hostile, unprofessional moderator I've ever seen. A person like this with the temperament of a 10-year-old should not be controlling adult conversations. And no, this wasn't it. It got worse.
Our community has 25 million children.
And how many white folks?
And what white folks do don't set the standard in the black.
I know. I just want to make sure
we
we
need
get
to
the
be measuring ourselves on. We need to measure ourselves on our own performance.
No problem. I just want to know the white folks. That's all.
Fair enough. We've 25 million children, and it's my opinion that the world.
That was so dumb. I just had to revisit that because it just flew by me so fast.
25 million children.
And how many white folks?
And what white folks don't.
Combative, hostile, unprofessional moderator I've ever seen. A person like this with the temperament of a 10-year-old should not be controlling adult conversations. And no, this wasn't it. It got worse.
Our community has 25 million children.
And how many white folks?
And what white folks do don't set the standard in the black.
I know. I just want to make sure we get the
measuring ourselves on. We need to measure ourselves on our own performance.
No problem.
Another thing too, it just seems like her psyche is very limited. We start off on interracial dating, then we go over to talking about, real black people and not real black people over abortion. Then once we even get into the abortion, it's another parallel comparison.
I just want to know the white folks. That's all.
Fair enough. We've 25 million children, and it's my opinion that the world is better with those children in it than not. Okay. Is in many ways a very difficult topic for a lot of people to deal with, but what we're really not talking about is the root issue, which is premarital sex. Premarital sex is the most significant issue.
You against premarital sex?
So I am actually. As of today. So.
Okay, now here we go. Now all of a sudden we're going to go into this. Oh, I'm not paying attention anymore. This is boring.
So that was the day here. So dig, right? So no, wait, because we got a whole bunch of people in the crowd who go handling today from the community. And I ain't perfect. So hold on, stop. Let me put the cameras in the view. I calculate my resume. I put in my family resume.
Are you married?
I'm running for you.
No, just yes or no.
I'm running for you. I'm a grown heterosexual black man. No, stop. who has benefited.
He won't answer.
My question is this: why is she trying to tear this man down? And he's talking about abortions in the Black community.
For the cameras, so I'm gonna give you more than you asked for.
No, but that's what
I'm gonna give you more than you asked for.
No, but I don't want one to ask for. I just want to know.
I'm a black man who benefited.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you what you did
At
just
18
last
years
time.
old, I benefited
Hello, is the
from
comment
from a birth,
concerned?
but that don't mean
Yes or
that
no?
I don't know that it's wrong.
Right.
See, one of the issues we have
Relax.
the
Relax,
issue-
soldier. Relax.
the issue that we
Remember,
have
I'm
around
there. Hold on, tone it down. Relax.
Fair enough.
Come on, you foaming at the mouth. Relax, man. Just cool. Relax. You foaming at the relax. I just
Why is she bullying this man like this?
Did this over and over. She would gaslight the guests, wouldn't let them get their words out, kept cutting them off and escalating an argument. Then when the guests matched her energy, she went to shame, insult, guilt tactics while she continued to argue and show her need to be right. Sign language 101. This flamingo went through every stage of it just to shut down anybody she didn't agree with.
The
But I
issue.
need to know this because they want to know the answer.
So listen.
No.
I'm gonna divorce you with a fiance.
No.
I'm gonna divorce you with a
Let's
fiance
stop.
and children.
Let's
You know what I'm
stop.
saying?
Let's stop. Because you want to throw it out there.
So
I just
then,
want to know yes or no before we move forward. Are you married? Yes or no?
I'm engaged.
So
I got a beautiful black female. I've been married.
No,
right?
I just asked you a simple question.
It
Are
has
you
no
married?
bearing.
Yes or no? So why
It
God
has
she
no
didn't get
bearing.
done
It
like
has no-
so
it
why
has
God
no
she didn't
bearing
get
on the
I just
point.
want to make sure
It
because
has
the
no
people
bearing.
want
All right, so here we are. Hold on. Here we are. And the whole conversation is being reduced to sex. And who's getting some and who's not. This girl over here on the right is getting shut down because she's talking about stuff that's really going on. This dude right here is getting shut down. He's talking about stuff that's really going on. She's raising up hatred for interracial relationships. She's concerned about what's going on with Black people relative to white people all the time. And the thing about it is she's on Revolt News. This is basically like the closest thing that we have right now to BET, and the reason why I say that is because this is like the most mainstream face of BET that we actually have that should be actually tailored properly for Black people, and it's just not able to do that. It's not able to do that because people like this host come to the conclusion that this is a good person to represent Revolt. And the reason why I know this is because not just this host, but there's also other hosts that they have on here that are just ignorant, just like this. Just simple-minded, just like this. I know they got this one TV show, they got a pimp on there. And on this show, on Revolt, this pimp talks about life on the streets and how he's doing this and how he's doing all this and that on the streets. But at the same time, we're supposed to be talking about women like this who are all throughout Revolt, who will let a man like him have platform. Let a man like him who is behind the horrible things that lead to women of our community suffering. Suffering in terms of education, suffering in terms of their own identity, suffering in terms of their ability to access the future. This is like the most commercial face we have, and when I say that, I say that to say this is the best that they are that we are able to do. in media. You can use the excuse with BET about BET being bought out by some type of syndicate or something like that and not being owned by Black people. But Revolt is something totally different. And I say that to say that even if the board members are whatever they're supposed to be, this is like the most grassroots it could possibly be, because of how much it's intertwined with the music. It's intertwined with too many things too close to the culture that in order for it to operate, you got to have people from the culture there. Like these are the people that are behind your Glorrillas. These are the people that are behind your Sexy Reds. And this is the reason why we need to start with the woman. Because this is the message about her identity that is being spread across the land. And we really have to really break this down so we can really understand what it is about that's wrong with this identity, how we can recognize this identity, how we can classify this identity, how we can understand this identity, and how we can kind of file it from a conscious perspective. And what I mean by saying that this is not Black is what I mean is that this is not Black conscious. Therefore, it's not Black. This is Black modern. This is Black modern. And I want to use this video as a way to not just break down the Black modern aspect of it, but the Black conscious aspect of it. What is actually Black?
Show they repeated oh.
I want to break down what is actually Black.
City to city, encouraging terminations, going to Black colleges, speaking to young Black women about termination rights. So if anybody created the support for terminations, going from city to city.
I want to break down what is actually not Black. See, people will look at this and they'll identify with this as being Black. People will look at this and they'll look at her attitude.
Answer a simple question.
And they'll look at her behavior and they'll perceive it as being Black. But really, in reality, this is just what the modern Black image is projected on television. This is not Black. Black is something that's absolute. Black exists whether or not you're on TV. Black exists whether or not you live on the East Coast, whether or not you live on the West Coast. Black exists despite. Because Black comes from three places. It comes from your history, it comes from your spirit, and it comes from your experience. And if she knew anything about her history, she wouldn't be so lost in the conversation. If she had any actual spirituality, she wouldn't be so weak in her ignorance. And if she actually had any experience, she wouldn't open up her show speaking about dumb, foolish things. This is another reason why it's really important to kind of look at this and really analyze it and understand who's conscious in this situation and who's not. Who's talking about things that actually matter and who's not? Who's the face of Revolt News and who's not? Who is Black Modern and who's Black?
So why is she ain't getting on the night? So why is she ain't? I just want to make sure. What the people want to know? Ma'am, you ain't getting on the night because he said after us tonight. No, we don't.
You're learning from the real issue here. The real issue is people don't want to be accountable to the fact
we accountable, but man, we ain't getting on the night. Damn, because he look a
these
nice
children
looking man.
at risk. It's being
We got all that, but I know you ain't getting on the night, man. Make sure y'all stay locked in.
Look how crazy that was. Look how crazy that was. And I'm going to be honest, the reason why it's probably going this way is because she's probably getting impressions from the crowd and she's probably getting impressions from everyone around her that she doesn't know what she's talking about. So all she's doing at this point is just fighting. This is kind of another reason why when you see a woman in an interracial relationship, you don't particularly get upset about it. This is another reason why when you see a man in an interracial relationship, you don't get upset about it. Because a lot of people will consider her to be Black when in fact she's actually not the one. When things go wrong, when things get out of hand, when things get hard like they are going to do, why would you want to have a person like that involved? Why would you want to have a person like that talking about, oh, it looks like someone's not going to be getting this tonight. Oh, it looks like this ain't going to work. Let me ask you a question. When it was back during them times and they was over there making the Underground Railroad, do you think that there were women like her helping people through the Underground Railroad, holding the torch, making sure people made it through? Or do you think there were people like her when it came time to the Underground Railroad, going down, talking to the people, and then doing what's in their best interest? And I'll be honest, that really was kind of a long shot. Because truly speaking, both of those things existed. But none of them really existed as, which one of them do you think was considered to be Black? Which one do you think people really hold to in their heart to be the one that was Black? And which one is the one that was considered to be the Uncle Tom? And what do we have here on Revolt? All she could talk about is sex and interracial dating. And these people over here talking about Black people are facing abortions at astronomical rates. This person is not Black. This initiative is not Black. We should not be doing that. Why is that? Because they have perspective. Why is that? Because they have spirituality. So we're just gonna keep going.
But we got the real issue. We just want to know what you married. And he said they ain't getting nothing. 97. We gonna get that. I ain't gonna let you do. We just
uncomfortable.
but this y'all want
The
raise your
news
hand.
media don't even hear uncomfortable
Raise
truth.
your hand. We just want to know. We just want to know.
That's it.
I want you to just listen to this. And I want you to listen to how cackling it sounds. And I want you to just take the time to consider that other cultures don't sound as cackling. This sounds like something that's happening out in the back of the hen house. This sounds like something that's happening on the side of the shindig. All this cackling and hackling and yackling over all this ignorant conversation in this loud volume. This loud, as if you got some sort of mental deficiency all the time. Why would you be upset to see a person, like when you see a person like that in an interracial relationship, what are you supposed to be mad about? That's the reason why, probably in most cases, that's truly the reason why when it comes down to it, from the perspective of the differences between the people on the right and then this person right here that's the host.
I called it like it is. I called it like it is.
Baby, we gonna talk about it. Relax. But I told you this last time.
If we was gonna go back, you wanted me to jump in, so I went
You
ahead.
got to lay out the premise of the argument.
So I'm trying to get there.
Since you said you don't agree. No, because I needed to know that before we got to the debate. We need to know because we didn't know if you was gonna get something like that.
It's funny that she's supposed to be the woman in charge of Black men outreach, but she's obviously a chameleon Black feminist and 100% on board with the emasculation of Black men, which is why a lot of Black men are turned off by these folks. This right here is why the only Black men that can get in line with them are either a part of the LGBT or beta males. Alpha men and men standing on business will never operate in spaces like this with these staunch feminists. They're repellents. Their whole agenda is to control men, pull them around by the nose and tell them what to do and how to think. This is why the Black community is upside down in the first place.
So, and I'm not, look, I'm here because I wanted to be here right now in this room, in the city that I live in. I've never, seen a moment where somebody said, hey, we're gonna go watch the debate, and everybody in my age bracket is excited. And I'm like, damn, this is the new club. I'm like, let's go. And so to come in and witness this firsthand, I do notice that y'all get a little high key, a little hostile with the energy. And I wish y'all could kind of just keep it a little, it's nothing wrong, but it makes it hard to communicate.
No, we'll get through it.
Yeah,
This is what family do. Let me speak to this.
True indeed.
Let me speak to this. If people can argue about who's the best rapper, if people can argue about who peed on who, if people can argue about who dated who. That's right.
And the only way for that to happen is I have to actively be present.
Right.
And here I am.
That's right. We appreciate you being
Yeah,
here.
straight up.
And also, even if you wasn't activated. See, my job being hood was to go get people who's not activated. So nobody, since we got Christian folk, if you're not a Christian, then don't worry about it. But it's about walking among people that are not activated. So when I was in the streets yesterday in the land, I'm talking to the brothers literally homeless who are under the bridge. We got to get them in the fold. Anybody can talk to their own choir, but who can go bring people to go follow them up the hill? So we want to be clear that this space is for those who are activated and non-activated, because that's Trump's beyond. Here's why I'll give Trump campaign some credit. They follow the what do they call it, the lost man or the unspoken man? What do they call it on your side? The forgotten man. Where they literally go and say, let me strategically peel off 1-2%. Let me go and get Icewear Bizzo in Detroit to peel off 1 or 2%. You have people online saying, oh, why they got Icewear? He got clout in Detroit. So while you ignoring that rapper in Detroit and saying, oh, he don't know what he's talking about, that 1 or 2%, the Trump campaign has been very strategic, whether y'all like it or not. They've been very strategic talking to those brothers that are not getting talked to. So we want to be clear that the non-activated people are important, and we want them here too, and we're glad to have them.
And if you think emasculating men is the way to communicate with them, then yeah, good luck, ma'am. See, she's been a chameleon for a very long time, fooling a lot of people, hiding behind Black California gangsters and faux Black activism. This is a feminist. She's been a Black feminist for a very long time, but everybody can't be fooled.
6 million people listen to me every morning.
Yeah.
From 6 to 10 on my platform. So I'm happy to be here, man.
Appreciate it.
So those laptops, I know it's gonna make a difference for those kids that you did that to. So people who are online, please just watch who you give, who you're trying to knock, and who you give respect to, because those are resources that you didn't have to do, but you did it because you've always been a real one. And so we, as a community, we appreciate you, and you should be, if anything, one of the first people to speak. Because when people aren't looking, you're still working for us. And I do want to say this, and this is, Tess, I know you said one thing, you said, hey, you sit next to a big dog, but out of that whole stage right there, if Trump wins, only one of y'all going to the White House, and that's Michaela right there. And so we gotta be honest on what we gotta know. We have to know. What I'm saying is, hold on, out of the whole crowd, only one person, hold on, let me just, and this is why the Black people, and when it comes down to a divide,
focus on
when it comes down to a divide in our community, this is why, because we're talking about everybody being so politically correct instead of in 4 years, what are we going to get? You mentioned chaos. Black people have been in chaos way before this debate ever started. We're in chaos in the homeless shelters. We're in chaos when it comes to the Department of Labor. We're in chaos with the fact that Jock has to bring out laptops for the kids because there's not enough resources in our community. Right. And so when we have a sister with a different opinion than ours, it's about giving that respect. And the fact that...
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm going to stop you because you're going on and on. And this sister here is the one that invited this sister. So if I did not respect this sister, she wouldn't be sitting here. You're going to put some respect on that. We're not going to sit up here. No, you can get frustrated and
in the homeless shelters, we're in chaos when it comes to the Department of Labor. We're in chaos with the fact that Jock has to bring out laptops for the kids because there's not enough resources in our community. Right. And so when we have a sister with a different opinion than ours, it's about giving that respect. The fact that...
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm going to stop you because you're going on and on. And this sister here is the one that invited this sister. So if I did not respect this sister, she wouldn't be sitting here. You're going to put some respect on that. We're not going to sit up here. No, you can get frustrated and look down and all that, relax. But we got to make sure we're very clear. This platform was designed to bring this sister here. So if there was no respect for the sister, she wouldn't be here. So let's make sure we're using the right context, brother. I don't mind you making the point about one sister going. This is the only sister on this stage that want to go. So let's also make that clear. Because I don't work in no White House. So I want to be clear about that. Everybody ain't trying to get a job in the White House. You can continue, but let's not act like she's not respected because she is. We just have a difference of opinion.
When people are yelling about who's a big dog.
I am a big dog.
And what I'm saying is,
I'm a big dog.
Out of this whole stage, only one person was standing on the stage with a presidential
and only
candidate.
One person on this stage flipped mission, and only one person on this stage organized over 2,000 people every year. Only one person was the racial justice director, Bernie Sanders. Only one, because you remember, you don't want to do resumes, because the sister already said she don't have a resume. So you might want to back everything. You said you don't have like a resume. Ain't but one sister to send your public policy advisor for being proud. Let's go on to the next. Ain't but one sister signed the check for people. Oh, baby, I know you don't want to start doing the only sister. I know you don't want to start doing the only sister receipts, because they were one sister served in the United States Air Force. Let's go on to the next person.
This is what this is.
I don't like the slack. I don't like the passive aggressive this, because I'll run these receipts down. So let's go on, because ain't one sister served this country on this here panel.
4 years from now, Black people have to decide what they're going to get at the end of the year. At the end of the day, and we're dealing with the disrespect right here. 4 years. What are Black people going to get at the end?
You heard her say she don't have the resume that I got. So go on to the next thing. I'm not gonna handle your passive aggressive distance. Baby, I'll run these receipts down on you. I'll run these receipts down on you. You talking to a whole veteran. So baby, ain't nobody impressed about working in no White House. I done turned it down. Ain't but one sister on here that on Fox News. Ain't but one that do 100 hits on Fox News. They don't call this sister, they call me. How many you doing yet? How many do you doing yet? How many? Baby, I do 100 every year.
I want to stop it here because what's happened now is we really just got into a fit of just pure ignorance. And what I really feel like it really showcases is what it really means to be black and the importance of really protecting that. Because you got to look at it like this is the best thing that can be done. And from one perspective, you could look at it like, oh, this is just the result of people coming from the same disparaging situation and coming together. This is the result of the fact of they come from different communities like her where they use words like baby and all this other stuff, and I'll run these receipts down on you, and baby girl, you don't know I do this on the head, and then well, we gonna put this on the head now, and you know, and what we gonna do is this and now. And it's very easy to start to like believe that that's truly what black is. And when you believe that's what black is, you come to find normalcy in this. But it's because collectively there is no identity of what black is. You can't look at a person like her and identify them as actually being black. You have to look at a person like her and as identify them as being black modern. Because if she was actually black, she would have too much respect for herself to carry herself this way. If she actually knew about black spirituality, she would have if she actually knew about spirituality, she would have a better roundabout about her demeanor. She would be smarter. If she actually endured racism and she actually stood tall in spite of racism, she would have had to have overcome and she would have had to conquer to some extent. And so the problem with this situation is, one, this damn remote keeps activating itself as soon as you move it, which is annoying. Like, what is there supposed to be a gyroscope in here or something? Like, damn. But what you realize about this situation is that we don't actually look for these qualities in the people that we allow to represent us. We don't look for strength and endurance when we're over here at Revolt trying to figure out who we're going to put underneath the person for the news. Are we really looking at the actual amount of views and hits that they get on Fox News to determine who we put in front of Revolt? Or are we really gauging her character and her personality on her ability to chuck and jive? Because see, chucking and jiving isn't a result of being black. Chucking and jiving is a result of oppression, being an oppressed people, and being kept at that immature state. The cackling and all that other stuff comes from lack of education. But to be as old as she is and to also lack education means that she is not a good representative of what a black woman is. Therefore, she shouldn't be constantly representing what a black woman is in front of so many black people. She just doesn't fundamentally fit the profile. See, what they'll do is they'll sit up here and they'll stir up a lot of convolution around like what it means to be black. And what you'll realize, a lot of the convolution actually has to do with ignorance. It has to do with the slave profile. The southernness has to do with the profile of the field worker, the profile of the house worker. But what you have to understand about those profiles is that those are actually just profiles of slaves. Those are not profiles of black people. Black people are people like Harriet Tubman. Black people are people like Malcolm X. Black people are people like Martin Luther King. And what ultimately combines them, what you'll realize when you compare people like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, is that they all have those same things in common. They might not have known each other. They might not have been in the same place at the same time. They might not have even been alive in the same era. Like, for example, Billie Holiday also has these same attributes and qualities. But what they do share in common is an experience that makes them Black. What they do share in common is a spirituality that makes them Black. And what they do share in common is history that makes them Black. Things that happened to people before them, their understanding of these things. So you can sit here and look at her as being Black. You can analyze it that way, but in reality, she's Black modern. She's not ultimately what a Black person strives to be at an adult age, given that they understand their history, their experience, and also their history, their experience, and also their spirituality. Without those things, because of the oppression and things like that, then a person will become ignorant. But the problem in this situation is that the revolt is the most intelligent that we're able to actually put together, congregate as a collective together. So revolt is the most concentrated, your most concentrated ability of creating that intelligence, right? But why is it? Why is that? It's because no one there is conscious. No one has that Black consciousness. They identify with the Black ignorance, but they do not identify with the Black consciousness. This is the reason why revolt will also have a pimp on a TV show. We're not going to sit here and talk. We're not going to acknowledge the fact of the devastation and the destruction that it does to the intelligence of the Black human being and their ability to thrive throughout their existence. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to identify with the fact that, oh, he was out here in the streets, and oh, he was making money the way that he lived, and oh, he toted this, and you know, he had to run down on some hoes. That's gangster. We identify with that. We don't identify with the fact of the only reason why he had to run down on them hoes was because he never actually had an actual job opportunity. We don't, you know what I mean? We're talking about we don't identify the fact of the reason why he had the fire on him is because the place where he was doing business, everybody was smoking crack. We don't talk about that. We want to sit here and identify with the cool aspect of it without actually understanding the conscious aspect of it. But the reality of it is when you have people in positions like this that are supposed to be in positions of outreach, because she's doing the Black male outreach, how do you actually verify those people? How do you verify in their character and their identity? You have to ask yourself, well, you need to actually have Black people, not just ignorant people. And so really what it comes down to is it asks you the question of, well, why is she here? And it really gives you a perspective of the modern landscape when it comes to consciousness. She's here because collectively as a whole, there is no consciousness. Collectively as a whole, there's no education, there's no history. There's no understanding and there's no identity. And this is where it starts. It starts with the woman. But you know what? I'm not going to say it starts with the woman. This is where you see it. Truly speaking, it starts with the man. And I'm glad we're at this point because now we're finally kind of more elevating throughout, the understanding. But it really starts with the man. And I'm going to tell you why it starts with the man. Because only a man can create a Black woman. Only a man can create a black woman that will grow up in black conditions. And what I mean by black is I mean 100% black. So if the man is suffering, then that means that every instance in which he makes a woman is also going to suffer. So as a byproduct, this is the byproduct of what you get. And that's also to say that until this instance can get corrected between the man and the woman, this issue is only going to get worse. Because you're going to keep reproducing from destitute conditions. And the reason why that's also important is because there's like this philosophy that if women of the community have all of like the power and the influence, that the community is basically in better shape than if men of the community have any sort of power and influence. The idea that like, okay, well, if the women are able to be more cooperative, and we can give them more money and there'll be less threats to society, then, you know, and even when it comes to raising children, then they're better off put in a position of power when it comes to the future of the community. The problem with that is the only way it can actually be so is if the woman could lead in a dominant position. And the problem with that is if the woman is in a dominant position, then the man is constantly oppressed down, which means that every situation that the man makes a child in is going to continually get worse and worse. And then this situation continually gets worse and worse. And so then the question is, all right, well, how can we actually have a chance at a future? And the only way it's really like practical is with like history, spirituality, and a basic understanding of what it is that makes you who you are. So then you can have some sort of backbone to compare other people that identify the same as you. So you can have a strong archetype to understand it, why it is the way things are and why it is the way things aren't. So you can really distinguish between what's stereotype and what's actual reality. How far you can go and where you're at. What is it that makes it so that you can take pride in Malcolm X? What is it about you that makes it so you can take pride in Martin Luther King? What is the commonality that you share with all of the great people that are like you, like Jackie Robinson? Where is that strength derived from? You won't associate it with just afros and afro picks, Air Force Ones, watermelons. You would have more of an understanding of your actual heritage. And this is something that I've come to realize is not allowed to thrive in this modern day and time. It's not something that's impossible. It's not something that can't exist. It's something I've seen initially started. I remember when Fox Soul initially started, it started with a very strong Black intellectual perspective. But then what happens is they start bringing in the ignorance, and they start bringing in the homosexuality. And then before you know it, it becomes something like this. To where it's totally distorts the Black consciousness. But the reason why it does it and why it does it so effectively is because through the sexual ignorance and the whole and you know and the actual ignorance, the stereotypes, it blocks out your consciousness, it blocks out your spirituality. And it dilutes your perspective to where you really don't see anything wrong with what she's talking about. You really will sit there and be sitting there to upset that, you know, this interracial situation is happening like this and that interracial situation is happening like that. You will really be sitting there in this sort of ignorant daze, not really knowing what's going on. It'll all feel natural to you. And in reality, you'll just be exercising the mentality of a child. And that mentality of a child that you're exercising is going to be that identity that you were basically forced into in slavery. You're forced down into this condition through slavery. You understand this through history. So you say to yourself, okay, my name is Revolt. You know, I'm BET, I'm Black Entertainment. How is it that I can make this have some sort of identity with Black spirituality, Black consciousness, and Black experience as it relates to reality and modern reality? Not as it relates to through oppression and all other stuff. This isn't a matter of showcasing the suffering of you know the showcasing the damage that oppression has done to Black people. If Revolt is pro-Black, I don't even know if I mean, how could Revolt not be pro-Black when it's supposed to be covering so many aspects of the culture? You're supposed to be having music, you know, you're supposed to talk about rap, you're supposed to talk about this, you're supposed to be all in the streets, you're supposed to be all these different parts of the culture. Yet when it comes to what's supposed to be your most intelligent platform of all, you got the host over here bragging about what they did on Fox News. And all they can talk about is like sex. And all they can do is regurgitate facts. And all they can do is bark people down all the time. And earlier in this video, I was talking about like what is Black and like what is not. Like one thing that you sort of realize when you travel the country is you really kind of like understand what Black is. And when you go to Atlanta, you get an idea of what Black really is if you're actually conscious and you understand it. Atlanta can have different impacts on different people depending on like where you're from and like how much you've actually been around Black people. How much you actually know what it is to be Black from a perspective of suffering, from a perspective of, you know, spirituality relative to like God. You see how the industry operates around Black people in terms of entertainment when you're there in Atlanta. But then you also understand where actual black comes from because you see how segregation and things like that apply to Atlanta and everything around it with like the poverty of the people, the poverty of the children, the suffering, the crime. Like you see the inequality in Atlanta. And you see black people on every single scale. So you basically see really in Atlanta how black people transition from slavery into society. You see it entirely in Atlanta. You see them living outside the jail. You see, all of the strip clubs and things like this. These are things that black people go through everywhere. You see this stuff. So you know that in order for someone to traverse those situations and have respect, you know the type of character it would derive from a person. And you understand why then only a person like Malcolm X could truly be identified or perceived as conscious at the time that he was, in the 60s. You see why a guy like Martin Luther King, had the strength to stand up and do the things that he did. And you understand the context of their character. Furthermore, you understand the context of their character as it related to God, and you also understand the context of their character as it relates to history. So therefore, you really understand what is really like appropriate. There's really like no question about like what black is. But this is the reason why this is Black modern, because this is a lost form of black identity. Or better yet, this is a black identity. This is a lost black identity. This is a black identity in this day and age that's still enshrouded in ignorance. That's the reason why it's called modern, because this is like basically the conditions of this is the conditions of where black people are through different stages. And the one thing that makes it very interesting in this day and age is that you're able to see them at different heights of what's perceived as success. Not understanding that they represent different parts. If a black person is still ignorant, like the dude they got over here, I think his name is Charles White. If a black person is still ignorant, then that just basically means that they haven't transcended the baseline of slavery. If a black person doesn't really have their identity, if they're like looking at the other race as being like the superior race, then that means that they haven't transcended the civil rights movement. They're still at that part of their life. When they talk about people getting taken back, they're dead serious. People really are taken back. When you go to Atlanta, like you really see it from start to finish. But furthermore, when you see it from start to finish, you're able to go to other states where black people don't exist in the same capacity, or where the history isn't so attached to the land. And you see the other black people that carry out a personality that deliberately projects this behavior. You see them carry out this personality of them being like basically like Slim Jesus. You see them wearing bonnets and stuff like that. You see them doing things that someone like Glorilla would do, yet they live in the suburbs. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see them emulate the struggle perspective with the idea, or they emulate the oppressed image with the idea that that's what makes them associated with people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. That's what makes them black. And in reality, no, that's just what makes them disparaged, if that's even the right word. Because once you identify as black and you're a certain age, you're always going to have a certain level of intelligence. It doesn't matter. Your intelligence is never going to suffer. And if your intelligence does suffer, it's deliberate. You're going to be doing it. You're going to be what they call playing dumb. You're not actually going to be dumb. And the reason why I really wanted to start with the women with this is because the women on a grand scale here in the United States have been really sheltered off in a way to where they've been able to remove themselves from the struggle through financial assistance. Through childbearing and financial assistance, they've been able to manage households that are more beneficial to them than having households with men in them. And for that reason, they've transfused in modern times to become their own people. And in this transfusing of becoming their own people, they have been lost in ignorance because they refuse to, they cannot accept God, which is one. So they have no access to actual black spirituality. They do not accept their history, which is number two, because of the way because of, their, due to their intelligence and then also in their behavior. If they understood their history, they're not worried about their history. They're just basically living until the next day. They're living until the next year. They might be living until the next, whatever they're living into the next. When they're in these interracial relationships and they're looking at this person as being God, well, how long are they planning on living out that expectation, that reality? So this is kind of like really where their mind is at. And their experience, truly speaking, is not a black experience. Because they're not actually including a black man with them. That's the actual black experience, when you actually have a actual black relationship. I'm talking about when you have a strong man in the picture and you have a strong woman in the picture. And they know their history and they have access, or you seek history and access to your spirituality when you represent it in that capacity, when you represent a black family of the 60s. See, the thing about the 60s and the reason why it could be considered as a great era, it's not necessarily a great era in terms of innovation, in terms of progress and things like that, but it is a great era in terms of human, like mankind. We really turned out some of the most strongest, purest human beings in that era because the sort of survival of the fittest aspect was way more prominent in that time. So because survival of the fittest was more prominent in that time, the differentiating factors of an individual, they basically gave into their character. And they really define them as a person. And so through that, you understand things like a person's true, pure identity and who they should be. And a fool is not who you should be. A person that's allowing themselves to be misled through ignorance is never who you were supposed to be. It's how you're portrayed. It's how you're projected as a byproduct of oppression. But it's not who you are. Relative to you being what they like to call an African American. I'm going to call them American Africans. That's not what defines you as an African American or an American African. If you actually live the life of an African American or an American African, you would have a different behavior. Young Jock is out here doing things where he's giving out laptops. based on his experience. That's the result of being an African American, American African. This man over here is concerned about abortion rates. That's the result of being an African American, an American African. This woman over here is saying, no, this person is not black. That's the result of being an American African, an African American. These are things that this is the difference between these people being black and a person like Slim Jesus being considered to be black. This is what separates you from the cultural, musical ignorance. And this is what you hold on to when you are up against aspects of your history, aspects of your identity, people trying to tell you things that you're supposed to have, things you're not supposed to have. It's all rooted and funded and it's really into your core existence. It's rooted, truly speaking, into the reality of the situation, who you really are, the truth of it. See, a lot of people got this mindset nowadays where it's like, oh, if we just believe what we believe, who's to say that this isn't real when this can be real if it's not real, or if this could be this way if I think it's that way? Well, the reality of the situation is your real spirituality, your real history, your real identity, and your real experience. And so this is the image that we have on Revolt. And this is the image that we have going across America of the Black woman. And this is the modern consciousness, the modern spirituality of that woman, is a woman that grows up in a household without a father, that grows up in a household without any sort of connection to Malcolm X, that grows up in a household without any sort of connection to Martin Luther King, that grows up in a household without any sort of connection to God. And they have all of the, we're the real Black people. Maybe over there, that's how they do you, but honey, we tell the white people what to do. Maybe over there, and you know, they have all of that Southernism, which is so much commonly synonymous with being Black. But you know what? And then this is really what I want to leave you on, because this is something that's really just resonated with me, is how Southern really was Martin Luther King relative to how intellectual he was. How Southern really was Malcolm X relative to how intellectual he was. And how much of intellect does the stereotype delegate to what's considered to be within the Black stereotype? How much intellect do we see when we watch things like The Klumps? How much intellect do we see when we watch publications like BET? How much intellect do we see when we're sitting here on stage smiling with a very comforting smile, with a plaid, a plaid suit on, talking about abortion? Or does that really reflect slavery?
This Black women are talking about abortion.
Stop it. Kamala's been running around.
Does it really reflect slavery? Does this reflect Black spirituality at all? What about this makes this Black if there's no intelligence involved? Is it her smile? Is it the fact that she has like a very like homely, calm, relaxed demeanor? And she's over here with the stern, you know, I'm about to whip you face. Like, you know how like when your mom, like when you did something wrong, and let's say for example, you know, and then your mom she was told you about to like she's about to get the belt or something. Is that the reason why we're considering this black? Because Malcolm X and Martin Luther King would not be up there talking about Biden Harris reproductive freedom. They just wouldn't be up there doing that. And see, the reason why this is important to understand is because you will sit here and tell yourself along the lines of, oh, I'm going to go ahead and try to like disassociate with the struggle. It's time for us. I've been seeing content people talking like, oh, it's time for us as people to just let go of what happened to us in the past. This is the reason why you can't let go of what happened to you in the past, because it's part of what makes you who you are today, and it explains the reason why you face the consequences you face, and it helps you reach a consciousness which is going to be allowed, which you can pick up from the people that learned before you, so that you can continue to prosper. But also it gives you an idea of knowing what's right from wrong. What makes this black other than the fact of it being ignorant? And that's just to basically say that because the woman has basically gotten on this war path, or I don't even know what to call it, because she's gone so rogue, you know, because she's gone so rogue, it's gotten to the point where her image is just undoubtedly ignorant. It's just incredibly ignorant. It's just incredibly ignorant that it gets to the point where it's hard now to deal with these women on a personal basis in any given circumstance at all, in a productive capacity. So as a man, if your goal is to like have a family or something like that, if your goal is to live in peace in the foreseeable future, and you actually do have a good relationship with someone outside of your race, and when you're in this relationship, this person is willing to actually bring positivity to the black community and support to the black community, they're not actually, it's not like you being in this relationship means that you're putting yourself out of the black community. This is the reason why things exist the way they do. And this is what they're reproducing in society. They're reproducing an ignorant woman who cannot be who cannot be cooperated with. Who tears down the men, which then prevents them from having children that have anything, that can come from two black households and actually learn what it means to be strong, what it means to thrive throughout their life. They tear down the men, which then go lower in society, which then have more families, which do the exact same thing, which continue to tear down the men, which keep pushing them lower and lower and lower and lower down. And this is the state of black modernism. As it relates to the woman. Now, I've been thinking about, you know, doing like some sort of like reaction piece on the men, and I've really been kind of on the fence about it because I don't want to get caught up in the satire of criticizing black people. And I do feel as though going over the women alone is enough to encompass the entire thing. I just really wanted to go over this just to kind of like put my thoughts down on it clearly as a way just to kind of like move past this ignorance. Because one thing that I do kind of get the impression of in terms of like reasons like why I don't get any sort of support and like why a lot of people don't like me is because of like the conceived impression that I have some sort of animosity or like disdain for women of today based on behaviors like this or based on opinions like this or based on aspects like this or based on things like this or like this or like this. And they think that when it comes to things like this also, that there's supposed to be some sort of, I'm supposed to be in some sort of way like just totally like upset with this whole entire movement and like I'm just over here and like I'm upset and I'm mad and I'm all in my feelings and stuff like that and I'm not the one that's really black. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not this, I'm not that, like I'm not real, I'm not all of these things. And I just wanted just to kind of like just give my conscious perspective of where I see the women at, where I see the women are. Because when I go out in public, like, they like mock me and stuff like that. And, they're always like trying to like make me feel bad. And they're always like, conjuring up hatred and stuff like that. And I just wanted just to go on record and just give my perspective of it and my understanding of how it comes from that household where they are basically forced into immaturity and where they never really seem to graduate that level of oppression. But furthermore, what it really also showcases is how the culture has accepted that identity of what it means, why someone like of intelligence or consciousness is modernly hated. Like, for example, why a good man is hated in that community. And also like the sort of response to it, of just not being this sort of like, he-man women hater, but just looking at it from an intellectual perspective of like, if I'm going to be pro-black, if I'm going to be black and conscious, what can I really contrive of this that's productive and relevant to what's going on right now? What can I contrive of this besides entertainment? What can I contrive of this besides satire? And just basically explaining that is my reason for not dealing with it. Not avoiding it, not dealing with it. There's nothing to deal with when it comes to this buffoonery. These people are older than me. They talking about their big dogs and stuff like that. Beyond that, what else could I possibly do? So the way that I just kind of like leave it on and like the way I kind of end it is that I'm basically just I'm the one that's hated. If I secure a healthy relationship when it's two black people, I'm hated for that. If I secure a healthy relationship where it's biracial, I'm hated for that. And honestly speaking, that actually truly is the state of black consciousness. That truly is the state of consciousness. Is in reality is that black men are hated. In being black men, they're hated. In being strong black men that demand respect for themselves, they are hated. And they're hated by everyone. And the whole entire, statement of of um of black men being upset when they see this or black men being upset when they see that. Most black men don't even have the state of comfort to even take on that idea of being upset. But if they really were so upset, they would just simply actually be like, hey, if this person is treating you bad, check me out. But truly speaking, they're not coming, even that isn't coming from a place, the same place that they're coming from. And I kind of lost track of my point on that. I just kind of just wanted to go on record just to kind of like speak on black women, just kind of like once and for all with this thing. Because I just don't see anything else that I don't see anything that's conscious about it. There's nothing that's black about it. There's nothing that's family oriented about it. There's nothing I can get behind about it. And truly speaking, when you actually look at it from a black perspective, it's actually just selling out. You're actually you're basically just getting to a point where you just do whatever it takes for you to be comfortable in that moment, and you don't care who it hurts, or or you don't care who it hurts or who it affects in the long run, who it impacts the wrong way. You're not concerned about that. You're really just concerned about yourself in the morning and in the moment. And that makes sense when you look at it from a childish perspective. And often speaking, when it comes to people like Charleston White and stuff like that, those people that are blatantly ignorant, those people that are blatantly ruckus, that is the case. And so until I actually see some women up here that are actually able to intelligently talk about things that are going on within their community, similar to this lady here, that can sit there with a straight face, calmly discuss these issues, showcase actual good news, talk about things that are tangible when it comes to like building and developing a community. I can't take places like Revolt seriously when they put things like this up about the culture. I can't take people like Revolt seriously when they promote pimping and prostitution and things that they just hear in rap music because they feel like that's the direction of what people consider to be what is supposed to be a byproduct of where we're at as a people, as descendants of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. I just can't get with that. So, anyways, that's just my piece on this. That's my live piece on this. Forgive me, if it sounds kind of lame in certain places. Forgive me if it's kind of slow, throughout certain points. Forgive me if my vibe is kind of off. It hasn't been easy doing this one. It's not an easy topic. With that said, if you want to know like what my black perspective is, you can check out a playlist in the description. It's called Black Consciousness. You can see my complete curated Black perspective, and you can also develop one through seeing those videos. And if you want to check out this video, you can check it on the playlist that's posted at the end of this video. Anyways, with all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one, and peace.